Would you have a lawyer from the Justice Department who owned $9 million in stock negotiate on behalf of the government with that company?
It depends on as long as there's an ethical and no reason there was no conflict.
So if I had $9 million in stock with Paramount, I'm representing the people. There's an adverse relationship, adversarial relationship. You'd let me negotiate on behalf of the people when the outcome of those negotiations would have an impact on my...
We've got an absolute masterclass in accountability to break down today, featuring Peter Welch completely cornering attorney Todd Blanche over this whole weaponization fund mess. Welch asks a basic common-sense question that any regular, hard-working person knows the answer to. Should a government lawyer, sitting on $9 million in a company's stock, be allowed to negotiate on our behalf with that exact same company? The amount of squirming, hedging, and dodging you are about to see is wild, but it is exactly why we need to keep shining a massive spotlight on this kind of obvious conflict of interest. Hit that like button, grab your coffee, and let's roll the tape to see how you actually fight for the people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Deputy Attorney General. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Anti-Weaponization Fund. Just by way of background, you've had a long-standing relationship, of course, with President Trump, served as his personal criminal attorney, right?
I met him for the first time a couple years ago.
Right. And in the course of your representation of the president, you earned over $9 million, correct?
Well, my law firm was paid that much. I had 6 or 7 lawyers.
Well, that was in your financial disclosures. I don't have a problem.
No, I did. I was paid it. Sorry. But I'm saying it went to my law firm. I had employees.
Right. It's been raised that you have a close relationship with the president, but you're entitled to that, and the president is entitled to appoint as Attorney General a person in whom he has some trust. So that's not an issue for me. But on the Anti-Weaponization Fund, there is the question of whether a president who is suing the taxpayers, the IRS, for $10 billion, and where his formerly personal lawyer is representing the taxpayers, is there a conflict of interest? And my understanding is that before you actually got here, you did get ethics training when you were, after you were acting Deputy Attorney General, correct?
Yes.
And my understanding is that you were advised that you should not be engaged in matters that affected President Trump in his individual capacity. Is that correct?
No, I'm not sure what your understanding is based upon, but no. There's very clear ethics rules that I was required to follow that I do follow.
It's based on the letter from Mr. Terrell, and you received normal ethics training.
Yes.
And normal ethics includes that you do not represent someone with whom you have been representing them before in a personal matter, right?
I'm not trying to get uber technical, but there are very technical rules around the ethics requirements, and I follow them.
All right. Well, maybe you could provide us with what the ethical materials
I can tell you right now if you're interested.
What I'd like you to do is send us the materials. Let me go on. If you had an issue, there was a dispute involving, say, Paramount, would you have a lawyer from the Justice Department who owned $9 million in stock negotiate on behalf of the government with that company?
It depends on as long as there's an ethical and no reason there was no conflict.
So if I had $9 million in stock with Paramount, I'm representing the people. There's an adverse relationship, adversarial relationship. You'd let me negotiate on behalf of the people when the outcome of those negotiations would have an impact on my stock price?
Sorry, I just want to understand your hypo. If a lawyer for the Department of Justice has $9 million in Paramount stock, they should not be on that case.
Right.
I agree. Yes.
Okay. And, you know, what happened here with the president that's so mystifying to many of us, it would be analogous if the governor of Vermont sued the Department of Taxes for $10 billion. And we don't appoint attorney generals, but in New Hampshire they do, but let's say we did. And the governor's formerly personal attorney.
There's no comparison
Let me finish my question. The governor sues the Department of Taxes for $10 billion. His former personal attorney, who's now appointed attorney general, negotiates with the Department of Taxes and ends up settling by setting up a fund in the control, essentially, of the governor for $1.776 billion. That doesn't sound fishy to you?
Well, the hypo you just described, I don't think it's appropriate to use the word fishy. It's either ethical or not ethical, and there's
you know
no.
what? Vermonters would just say it stinks. I mean, that is truly bizarre, that the chief executive gets his appointed person, who was formerly his personal attorney, to negotiate on his behalf, where at the end of the day, taxpayers are going to pay. So I'll just leave it at that.
The other thing I'll correct, though, is you use the word as if I negotiated. I wasn't part of the negotiation, which I've said before.
Your department is. You had to sign
Yes,
off on it.
that's true.
That is your signature.
Yes, that is my signature.
I mean, look, you're at the top of the pile here.
Yes.
So you don't get involved in all the phone calls and all the details. But at the end of the day, you have to do due diligence and satisfy yourself that you in good faith can sign off on the agreement.
Correct.
And you did. So
Yes.
that is your responsibility, and I'm sure you accept.
Oh, I do have responsibility for it.
That's
I agree
right.
with that. Yes.
All right. And, you know, let's talk about the pardons.
Guys, it doesn't stop there. The deeper Welch digs, the more the absolute absurdity of this insider game gets exposed. He relentlessly presses Blanche on the glaring conflict of interest baked right into this Trump-paid anti-weaponization fund, dragging the president's massive $10 billion IRS lawsuit right into the daylight. We are talking about Basic Ethics 101 here, folks. Welch points out that standard ethics training explicitly forbids representing former clients in these scenarios and demands to see the relevant materials. Yet Blanche actually admits out loud that he ignored warnings and engaged with Trump personally anyway. Welch hammers it home with the perfect analogy. A DOJ lawyer sitting on $9 million of Paramount stock would instantly be barred from touching a case affecting that company's value. But instead, what do we get in Washington? A backdoor deal where an ex-lawyer now sitting in the Attorney General's seat pushes through a jaw-dropping $1.776 billion tax settlement that basically hands control of the funds right over to the executive. Welch rightfully shreds this weaponization fund deal as totally unethical, calling out exactly what it is: a CEO using his former fixer to negotiate a sweetheart deal entirely at the taxpayer's expense. And the absolute best part? Welch looks right at Blanche and delivers the ultimate mic drop, telling him point blank that because his signature is on that agreement, he bears full responsibility for it. This is exactly what real oversight looks like: holding the powerful accountable when they think the rules don't apply to them.
Welcome to the News Hour. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche cleared a major hurdle in his push to permanently lead the Department of Justice after he reached a deal with two Republican senators who had said they would block his nomination. Senators John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina said they will now officially back Blanche after he put into writing that the DOJ is scrapping a $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, one that could have provided settlements to the president's political allies, including January 6th rioters. For more on the agreement, I'm joined now by our justice correspondent, Allie Rogan. So, Allie, how did they reach this deal, and what exactly is in it?
This deal came about after several weeks of talks between Senator Cornyn and the White House. The White House had a lot of resistance. President Trump had openly contemplated withdrawing Blanche's nomination and simply waiting out Senators Cornyn and Tillis because they lost their primaries a few weeks ago and will be leaving the Senate. But late last night, there was some agreement. Blanche released a new written order rescinding the so-called anti-weaponization fund. The order is a half a page long and declares that the fund is, quote, rescinded and shall have no force or effect. And it says it establishes, quote, beyond any doubt that there is no fund. Today, Tillis and Cornyn said that Blanche has addressed their concerns and they are ready to support his nomination.
And just remind us, why was the fund such a sticking point in the first place for Senators Cornyn and Tillis?
Well, this fund was a settlement as part of a lawsuit that President Trump filed against the IRS for leaked tax returns. It got near immediate bipartisan criticism for concerns that it could lead to big payouts for January 6 rioters. There were also court challenges, and a federal judge blocked the fund from going into into effect. And around the time of that court decision, Blanche started saying that the fund was dead, but he wouldn't put that in writing. And that's what Senators Tillis and Cornyn were asking for, written assurance that the fund would not go forward. There was, Amna, another part of the IRS settlement that these senators both objected to, and that was a declaration of immunity from tax-related prosecution for President Trump, his family members, and unnamed affiliates. And Cornyn had an issue with the scope of that being so broad. Blanche also seemed to walk back that immunity in his latest order, clarifying that it only pertains to President Trump and his family members.
So just to be clear, is there anything in this new written deal that would stop January 6 defendants from receiving payouts of some kind, or that would prevent the president from reviving the fund?
There is nothing in this language that would prevent either of those things from happening. Even though the document says that there is no more fund, Trump allies could still claim weaponized prosecutions and seek compensation from other government accounts. And as of last night, President Trump was defending this fund and talking about it as a very real possibility, as he did last night on Air Force One. Take a listen.
These people were dead, and this would be a reimbursement to the pay them. They said a lot of people like it. If they don't let them die, or put it back on the table. A lot of people like it. A lot of big supporters of Trump like it.
Of course, Trump often sends mixed messages, and today a reporter asked him if there were other avenues that people could pursue to receive payouts like this, and he said there were no other avenues that he knew of.
So what about Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee? What are they saying about all this?
Democrats are calling this deal meaningless. Senator Adam Schiff said on a social media post that it, quote, doesn't prevent payouts to violent insurrectionists in the future. It doesn't prevent the administration from bringing the slush fund back from the dead next week or using an existing DOJ settlement fund for the same purpose. And Schiff notes it leaves in place Trump's tax immunity deal.
So when it comes to tomorrow's vote, is that now a lock for Todd Blanche?
It seems so. The math is there for him to proceed out of committee. In terms of the full Senate confirmation, it seems like he also has the votes there too. That vote is set to, expected to happen on Saturday. Blanche can afford to lose 2 Republicans. It's a slightly smaller margin than has been the case because Senator Mitch McConnell is still out. But the fact that Tillis and Cornyn have gotten on board is a pretty good barometer for other moderate Senate Republicans like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. And Amna, it seems like Todd Blanche is headed towards becoming the next permanent Attorney General.